Hey, I'm Static Initializer and welcome to my channel. This is my brand new series, Casual to Content. If you know me, I'm a much more kind of casual RuneScape player. I'm balancing things in real life as well as kind of getting time to play the game, just trying to make the most out of it while not trying to, go too hard or become a master of anything, but still have a lot of fun. And so this is what this series is all about. If you haven't seen my previous video where I finished Dragon Rank on my other account, I'll leave a link in the description below. If you are interested, this is going to be a series that's all around kind of just being a casual player and kind of having fun in the leagues and doing some content. I think this is really relatable to a lot of the player base in RuneScape, and so definitely hit subscribe so you can follow along this journey. I'm going to try to stream on Twitch and on YouTube if I can, whenever time permits. Obviously, got to balance real life things versus, game time and play. I'm not a full-time content creator, and so there will be that. So definitely hit the subscribe button and try to follow me on Twitch and YouTube if you want to watch and follow along. I'm just not sure exactly when my times are going to be, but let's get into this brand new league build. So the goals of this Casual to Content series are going to be having fun killing bosses, doing fun, having a fun time doing a raid, okay? I think these are some of the most important things. RuneScape is, at the end of the day, I would say primarily about PVM, though there is a lot of just good dopamine just to casually click and kind of get those AFK skills all the way level up. And overall, I think it depends on how you want to play, but there is just a ton of PVM content, and I do want to have fun doing that, right? I do want to unlock all the relics, all the regions, and most of my pack points. If you didn't see my pack point analysis, some of the pack points are difficult and RNG gated, and I don't want to, keep hitting the wall and kind of fighting the RNG grind. So I do, don't want to commit to all the pack points. Like I said, this is going to be a casual to content. Getting to 30 pack points is still, I think, pretty viable, and you'll still be able to kind of get a lot of the content kind of trivialized and have a lot of fun doing it, which is going to be awesome. The tier 8 relic is 28,000 points, and I think adamant rank is like 32,000 points. So just by unlocking the tier 8 relic and then doing a bunch of bossing and content, it's not going to be too hard to hit adamant rank. And so it's going to be like a nice casual way to get a ton of points. If you are playing the main game and you want the points for the cosmetics, 30,000 is still plenty to get you a lot of the cosmetics as well. It just depends on how much bossing and other content and time I have. We might get all the way up to rune. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to commit to it. I just want to focus on having fun and having a good time, right? And lastly, I do want to mix it up. My last run through, I did Tyranwin, Zaya, and Kandarin, and also my relics were Endless Harvest, Woodsman, Evil Eye, Transmute, Larcenist, Culling Spree, Soul Harvest, and Minion. I'm not going to change up a lot of the relics, as you'll see in a second, but I will want to change up my regions, change up my content, and so that's going to be pretty exciting. So let's get into the areas. So this time around, I'm going to be picking Wilderness, Mauritania, and Asgarnia. I do want to kind of, try all 3 different regions. I didn't get to try any of these echo bosses or content yet, which is going to be great. I've actually never picked Wilderness in any of my regions, and so that'll be a first-time pick for me, so I'm pretty excited about that. Mauritania obviously has my favorite raid by far, to do in leagues at least, Theater of Blood, so that's going to be really exciting. It's kind of like a hard choice to always kind of pick one raid region, so you're stuck with Desert, Zaya, or Mauritania. I did Zaya the last time around and did a bunch of cocks, so now I'm going to switch over to Mauritania and do Theater of Blood. And lastly, Asgarnia, I think there's just a lot of good bosses. You take all the bosses in the Wilderness and you combine them with all the bosses in Asgarnia, and there's just so much good bossing kind of content. It's going to be really fun to kind of AFK a lot of the God Wars bosses. If I get a build that can do that, that'll be awesome. Also, I wanted to kind of pick something a little bit different than what a lot of people are picking. I'm not going to stretch as far as to pick Fremnik, but I will stretch to pick some of the least picked regions. So actually, I think Wilderness and Asgarnia are the bottom 5 to 8 if you saw the league's recap video, and so they're the 2/3 of my choices are going to be the least picked, and then I obviously have to pick one of the raid regions. I didn't really want to pick Desert just because I don't, I will do, Toa in main game anyways, and so I think I just want to have a lot of fun doing Tob. All right, relics. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm not changing up a lot of these, and part of the reason being is as a casual player, some of these relics are just really suited towards a casual playstyle. I was really considering actually going Abundance in Tier 1 just because it would kind of get me faster to the content, right? You get a lot more money, you get the plus 10 boosts, and so it's a lot faster to get into the end game. But then I realized, you know what, I'm not a rushing into the content, right? This is not a rush to content build. This is a casual to content build. And so by default, I'm just going to be picking Endless Harvest. It's just so good. The AFK ability, the passive XP is just phenomenal, right? Woodsman, and this one, Woodsman will really tie into my early start for my Demonic Pacts, so I'll explain that in a second. But Woodsman overall is a really great rounder. Hotfoot, like I mentioned in my video, if you haven't seen the Hotfoot versus Woodsman debate, I'll leave a link to that in the description below as well. That pretty much was like, if you're gonna be maxing and getting to like 50 mil all skills, in that case, then you definitely want Hotfoot, because the agility grind is just so much slower and more painful than Hunter. But nonetheless, I think the utility overall from Woodsman is just so much better early on. We have the Hunter's Guild and Hunter Rumors and contracts. There's just, get the seeds from them. It fixes fire making into an AFK skill. There's just a lot of nice utility around it. And this time around, with some of my other choices, it's going to fix some of the things that Hotfoot would benefit. So we'll get into that in a second. At tier 3, again, still picking Evil Eye. The reason being, I'm going for content and bosses. Wilderness and Asgarnia have so many bosses, plus Mauritania has Barrow's brothers and such, and so Evil Eye is definitely going to be the play. If you didn't watch my Dragon Rank video, I talked about how Woodsman provides you the whistle, and the whistle actually gives you a lot of really good early infinite teleports around Varlamore. I think that whistle was one of the most underrated and most valuable things about Woodsman in general, and so I think that's just going to be a really great combo for Woodsman and getting the whistle early on with Hunter contracts, and then using that to teleport around, and then getting Evil Eye to do the bossing in the late game. It's going to be a great combination. At tier 4, I'm switching up from Transmutation to Butler's Bell. If you did watch my last video, I talked about having some kind of relic regret. So Butler's Bell actually fixes cooking and smithing, which are two passive things that Hotfoot would give as well, in addition to the agility. And so since I'm not really focusing too much on the agility grind, Butler's Bell will actually fix the two skills that Hotfoot would buff, and so Butler's Bell kind of rounds it out. So I pretty much lost a lot of utility for Hotfoot in my build. In addition to that, Butler's Bell will give me a ton of unfinished potions and herbs to finish those early herb tasks as well, and so Friendly Forager is not so necessary now that I'm picking Butler's Bell, and Butler's Bell is just like a great AFK passive way to get tons of experience and everything, and so that'll be like a nice way to kind of casually get a ton of points and unlocks and keep moving on from there. Next up, so this one was kind of a hard debate. I don't really have a need for really honestly any of these. Soul Harvest, like I'm going to have prayer fixed with the Wilderness Altar, right? Just kill some dragons, use the bones over there. It's not really an issue. I don't really have any interest in farming again or doing any farming for herbs or anything like that. I don't have Zaya for Tithe Farm or anything like that. And I don't really want the extra teleport you get from Nature's Accord. And then what leaves me with Soul Harvest, like I said, I don't really care about the rune crafting either. And prayer is already solved with the Wilderness Altar. Again, we're not trying to max 50 mil XP or anything like that. And so I think I just kind of defaulted to Larcenist. There's a lot of good like thieving kind of tasks anyways, and Larcenist is going to be kind of like my money fix. By doing a lot of thieving, getting a bunch of money, it's going to kind of solve out a lot of the lack of money in my build. I was thinking potentially going for like something else that would fix the money problem, and that's kind of also why I was considering Abundance. But when I switched and committed to Endless Harvest, I definitely needed kind of like a money fix, and I think Larcenist is the one that's going to provide that. It's going to come a little bit later online at tier 5, but nonetheless, it will be a nice valuable add, and it'll just kind of make a lot of the other AFK content trivial. I'll be able to thieve blood shards in Mauritania, which will be great. So things like that will be nice. Larcenist will make an AFK grind to 50 mil and 100 mil and 200 mil. If I do those for the points, then thieving will become a really good AFK to 200 mil with that. All right. Moving on to tier 6. So we're changing it up here. We're going from Culling Spree on my last build to Eternal Sustenance. I think there's just a really nice utility. Like I said, this build is all about content, right? Killing bosses and everything else. Butler's Bell will get me access to some really good food. I just need one cooked, angler, karambwan, and like dark crab or something like that, right? Once I have those, Eternal Sustenance is going to be really powerful. Also, don't forget the strange fruit you get, I think from Venitus or something in the wilderness. And so once I get that drop as well, or you can get it from like the random events, that will be an internal food for me as well. That'll be a poison cure as well, so that's going to be super awesome. Again, I think for doing content, Eternal Sustenance is just kind of the best. You lock in your inventory slots for 3 food items, and you're good to go for the rest of the league pretty much, which is really nice. All right, tier 7. This is probably going to be the biggest upset, biggest like, oh my god, Static, what the hell are you thinking? Reloaded into Grimoire. Okay, I don't know how many players have done this. I'm definitely going to be one of the first or one of the few who have done this. And let me explain my reasoning here. Okay. So I'm not going Kandarin, so I don't have access to Piety. I'm not going Zaya, so I don't have access to the range and the mage scrolls, right? And so I don't have access to the top end prayers, and I think they are beneficial. Like Leagues has a crazy amount of power, and then all those prayer, top end prayers give you about an extra 10 to 20% kind of damage boost, which is really nice. In addition to that, I also don't have Desert or Zaya or, Fremenic for any of the other spell books or anything like that. And I also don't have the Mage Cape as well from Kandarin to switch into any of the other ones, right? So I think Grimoire is going to give me access to a lot of other stuff with Ancient Magics, with all the prayer skills and all utility. In addition to that, like there's not a lot of things I'd want to reload into. Conniving Clues is kind of nice, but I don't, again, want to run a ton of clues. Culling Spree is also just nice, but I'll kind of just, I've heard a lot of people who didn't take Culling Spree and they actually had a lot of fun, and they were fine with all of their points and Slayer tasks. It was a little bit challenging, but like only minor. And I also honestly I burned through a lot of points trying to get the right tasks anyways, even with Culling Spree. And so you know what, we'll figure it out. All right. They changed up the block lists and the task lists for the Slayer Masters. So I think that will help a lot as well. And so I'm thinking, you know what, skip Culling Spree. I don't even care about clues that much, right? We're just going to go with Grimoire. And we're just going to have a nice lot of utility. I think also based off of my trees and the items and stuff, I can spec into magic and ancient magic nodes, right? In Tob, it is nice to have a freezer who can do that. So that'll be really nice. And so I think overall Grimoire is just going to be a better selection for me to do more content and a variety of things. I think Grimoire is overall, it doesn't boost money, it doesn't boost skills, it doesn't give you really anything related to Leagues. But if your goal isn't to do anything Leagues related, then I think Grimoire is actually great because it boosts a lot of kind of utility for content, right? And so we're going to be reloading into Grimoire. I hope I don't regret this decision. I think it'll be the right play. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll see how it goes, all right? And then last up at tier 8, we have Flask of Fervor. If you watched my Dragon Rank video, I did really, really enjoy Minion. I think Flask is going to be a lot of fun. Just because, again, I'm doing content and bossing, and, it's a lot of fun to, do a ton of nuke damage and also have a couple seconds of immunity, right? I think it'll be a lot of fun to kind of just eradicate a lot of bosses, and so I think Flask is just going to be my pick this time around. I still think Minion is definitely slightly better than Flask, just because of that auto loot and other things, just make things way more casual AFK, really nice utility, and probably overall most damage, but I do want to play and test out Flask, so that's just going to be my preference of trying something new and doing something different, so it'll be pretty exciting. All right, moving on to the Demonic Pacts, right? Early on in the league, I have never played crossbow builds because we started in Varlamore and I'm going Woodsman, as I mentioned, right? And I'm going to be able to unlock all the Hunter and the Hunter levels in training. I will be able to unlock the Hunter crossbow early on. I did see players use this as their early start, and I think this is going to be good. I started with bows first, and I just didn't work out that well for me. I'm actually thinking of doing this crossbow start, and then if I get the King's Barrage, I can spec into the magic and the ancient nodes for healing up top as a continuation of the build. Again, this is not a melee focused build, and so doing moons is probably not going to be in my start. I might just do one or two forced moon kills the slow and casual way without any boosts. But I do want to test out this. I think this is going to be a really fun early start. I'll probably path straight down the tree and to the right a little bit first, get those extra range echoes, go all the way down to the keystones. I will also probably stop and pick up that extra regen node as well early on. And then we'll see where we'll go from there, right? Then you max out all the damage nodes and the extra range echo hits and stuff like that. I'm a little bit concerned to slow down the Hunter's, crossbow from a 3-tick to a 5-tick weapon, but it should be okay. In addition to that, in my regions, once I unlock Asgarnia, I'll have access to the Armadillo crossbow, which then I can upgrade to the Zerite crossbow, right? It's a one-handed crossbow. It's going to do a ton of damage. Asgarnia is going to be my last region unlock, so I don't know if it's going to be super beneficial by the time I get there. I might already have the King's Barrage at that point, and so I'll just be going into full King's Barrage mode. We'll just see how far we get there and what happens when it comes. We're going to kind of play this, just audible and casual. We're not going to try to pre-plan or do anything crazy. We'll just see how it goes for us. All right. So I have my character brand new account ready here called Bug Loot. If you haven't seen my last video, I did 305 Hydra kills with a no lance drop. I did a ton of Abyssal Sire kills, completed all the tasks there. Maybe except for like the 150 kills or whatever, or 300 kills. But I didn't get, I think I got like one on Sire drop. And so stuff like that, I was just kind of like, thinking, I was like, hey, you know what? Let's see if we can get some better loot drops over here. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to be streaming, hopefully, if I can. Definitely be uploading regular videos. So if you'd like, definitely hit the subscribe button to follow along on this series. Definitely hit the like button if, you're excited about my build. And any ideas or feedback or things you got, definitely leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.